Today we go to Boulder, Colorado to explore Chautauqua Park, its history, and what it's like to live there today. We look at the park and we look at one of its historic residents. You're not going to want to miss this one. Come on a Radically Colorado adventure with us. Thanks for joining us on another Radically Colorado adventure as we talk about Chautauqua and the history of that here in Boulder, Colorado. And I'm walking around the neighborhood that came up around Chautauqua, which was a movement in the late 1800s to immerse yourself in learning, creativity, and to embrace nature, which is why this location here in Boulder, Colorado became so important. This Boulder is one of the most outdoor friendly cities, and it's been that way since the beginning. When we look at the old pictures of this place, this valley that I'm looking at below me was completely empty. No people. This was remote, little, tiny Boulder, a convenient train outpost of Denver, in a prettier location. Sorry, Denverites. So when Chautauqua, which was this movement that had sprung up in the United States, there wasn't radio in the late 1800s. There wasn't wide access to information other than in books. So public forums where you could learn became really, really important. And that's how places like this sprang up. Instead of listening to a lecture or a TED Talk on YouTube, you were you were actually putting yourself in the situation and learning. So this was immersive learning at its finest, Chautauqua here. And all of this came up so fast. This dining hall that I'm standing next to right here came up in a period of around 6 months. So when Boulder heard that Chautauqua was considering this as a location, the community chipped in and they passed a bond to purchase this land for Chautauqua and lease it back. But they wanted it to be open really fast. They were super excited about it. So within a period of 6 months, they built a couple of the most iconic structures here. This dining hall is one of them, where you would come as a community and eat and relish the things that you had just learned at Chautauqua. So this goes up in under 6 months, as well as another building, the auditorium, which is one of the most phenomenal buildings. We're gonna turn around here and look at that really fast. It's gonna be right around the corner. This building, which still hosts concerts, lectures, all sorts of stuff. It's undergoing renovation right now, which is amazing. Both of these buildings go up in under 6 months. Not these cute cottages that are around here that people stayed in for their lecture series, but these two big iconic buildings go up that fast. And by that summer, they are already having lecture series, conventions, etc. here. So Boulder, like I said, it's always been this outdoor city, and even at its roots, back in the late 1800s, you see the community of Boulder chipping in. Look at that view behind me too. Boulder's not only excited about outdoor space and connecting with nature, Boulder's a place of learning. Obviously CU is here, Naropa University is here. We'll do whole other videos on how Boulder has been at the center of thought and progressing thought forward for so many years. But before all of that, the counterculture movement of the 70s, which later revived this place, there was the kind of enlightenment, that romanticism of the late 1800s on connecting with nature, and Chautauqua's at the center of that. And this becomes one of their flagship locations right here, because like you got the Flatirons in the back, so you wake up in the morning, go and eat a meal with your friends back here, and then you go over to some lecture series. There's some small breakout groups in the day, and in the evening there's a big lecture series, and then you have dinner, and then after that you have fun. You go to a concert or something like that they have here. And I think that is such a full, rounded approach to learning, if you think about it. Learning is community. Learning is small breakout groups. Learning is hearing from really influential people that are experts on the subject with your peers. And then at the end of that, decompressing in nature and then going to something creative. So learning, not to use my real estate brokerage's brand, is a very symbiotic thing. And that's what Chautauqua is. Not just here, but the neighborhood. The neighborhood, which is steps away from CU. The neighborhood, which is steps away from the Hill, bringing in modern learning, but also steps away from this amazing park that immerses you in nature. And both are equally important. The institutional learning and the release. And Chautauqua is the release. And in many ways, that's why this is the perfect neighborhood to live in, because it is simultaneously the merger of wisdom as well as play. What more could you ask for in a neighborhood than that? All right, I gotta stop getting philosophical. Let's turn around and let's start looking at some stuff, and then we're gonna talk about some speakers that were here as well, and walk around and talk about the development of this place. I'm just imagining some of the enlightened conversations that have happened in these buildings and these cottages after those breakout sessions. So Chautauqua, you could come here for all different sorts of learning, kind of like a modern day convention, but way better because you get to be in nature. Maybe it's like some of those corporate conventions where the Google tries to make it an awesome time for you, but like 1800s version with beautiful bungalow architecture and cottages all around us. The academic hall right over here, where you could go to smaller breakout classes. So the setting was really, really important here. And naturally, some of the most enlightened thinkers of their time came to speak here. Like Booker T. Washington came to speak here. William Jennings Bryan also spoke here. And if you're like me, you didn't know much about Bryan before researching this, but he ran for president 3 times on the Democratic ticket, and he actually transformed the whole Democratic Party. What I mean by that is before that, the Democrats were like, big business. Jennings comes in here and he's all about the small guy. He's about introducing silver into money circulation, which we talk about a lot on this channel, so that way it's easier for smaller people to get rich because there's more money in circulation. He's for public works, he's for public institutions, and he really transforms this party into a big business party, into a party that stands in rival to the Republican Party, and it's a party of the everyday people at this time. I'm not trying to say anything political here, folks. Let's not go there. This is about fun. Okay. But Jennings spoke here, and that just kind of goes to show the ethos of this place. At this time, there was a popular magazine as well, Ladies' Home Journal, which was written or published by Edward Bach, who also spoke here on culture, the need to be in beautiful spaces, stuff like that. So really, this place was shaping culture as well, and inviting women in, which wasn't popular everywhere at this time. So naturally, with that, a lot of speakers were here speaking on women's suffrage. One of those suffragettes was Julia Ward Howe, who wrote the Battle Hymn of the Republic. She spoke right here in this hall, and the list is endless. Who's been here? My whole point, I think I've made my point, is this is a place that shaped culture. Boulder is already that place, and in many ways, Chautauqua is like the nucleus of that atom. Everything kind of spawning from here in those early days. You're coming out of the class and this is what's behind you. Which, even with the construction noise, it's still amazing. So you gotta think the area between Pearl Street and right here, at one time, would have been vacant. So this would have been a little pocket, little camp, close enough to Boulder to get over here super fast. I'm walking around some of these original cottages. To me, I wish we would do more of this now. Walking around this place feels like you're walking around kind of like a mix of a Amish settlement and a university campus. Like there's a ton of quads, so to speak, like the one I'm in by the lecture hall. And then all the residences around it. And then you're into the park right over here. I wish that there was still more of the desire to go to spaces like this and maybe not just be here on YouTube, because I think a lot of times what's missing is the conversation. And that is what this place had. And comments don't count because people just say mean things. I mean, a person behind a screen is generally different than the person that you meet. I don't know if you guys have had that experience. Here at Radically Colorado, we try to be authentic. This is all surrounded in beautiful bungalows here. The ethos of being in nature, being steps away from things, but also close to Boulder, is still present and more present. With CU really becoming a thing after the late 1800s. Now it's a giant university with thousands and thousands of students. So the neighborhood that we're in is a mix of student rentals and families. Unlike a lot of Boulder neighborhoods, because Boulder really grows a lot when a lot of economy comes here in the mid 20th century. So there's not a lot of structures before that unless you go to Mapleton, or you come over here where there's a ton of charming architecture, like the Tudor style that we have at 911 Lincoln Place. Around here, you see more rustic cottages, some Victorian cottages, and a ton of bungalows, because this is an outdoor camp. So that makes sense for this sort of environment. When we get to the other side, where the listing's at, what you'll see is a lot bigger homes, Tudors, Victorians, that were built between 1900 and 1940. This neighborhood's also so close to everything. So listing is about 4 blocks from CU, about 4 blocks from the Hill, and I'd say about a 4-minute drive to Pearl Street. You could walk it, you could bike it as well, super duper fast. So you get the like being close to things, but it's also just so quiet here at the same time. And then all you have to do is take a few steps and you're on this expansive trail network in Chautauqua. Like, I mean, you can hike for days back here. Truly. All right, now come with me 2 blocks and we're gonna go to one house that's over here right now. All right, we're already here. You can see Chautauqua right back there. Like you saw on the drive over here, a lot of really neat architecture. Some of it, it's just stunning. And nothing says stunning to me like a classic Tudor, which is what we're in, built in the 30s. And this one, it hasn't been flipped as many times, so you can kind of see what the original layout of the Chautauqua residence was like. And to me, I'm sitting here in the living room because back then, everything was about conversation and community, which is oh so Boulder. And around this fireplace, you can really get the sense that conversation was at the center of this household. And of course, with the formal dining room, you get the sense that actually spending time, intentional time together made a really big difference. And I think that this architecture here speaks to the language of the neighborhood. Everything is super intentional. Every space is thought out. And out every single window, you can see you're immersed in Boulder. So just 2 blocks away from Chautauqua, just about 4 blocks away from the campus. So really, this is like the quintessential, like, Boulder location here. You're close to it all, yet within steps, you can be so far removed from it. You could live here and immerse yourself in that spirit that is Chautauqua. That, to me, is a spirit of community, of thoughtfulness, of compassion, and being one with your surroundings, which are the beautiful Flatirons. That's what Chautauqua is to me, really. Chautauqua is the most symbiotic thing that I could ever imagine. Being so close to it all, being around people who think in such different ways, and sharing that in the form of community. Whether that community is CU, or Chautauqua right over there, or the conversations that you have on Pearl Street, this is the place where it all begins. And it's been beginning here since 1898, when Boulder reaffirmed its identity as a nature-loving, learning-loving city and brought Chautauqua to us. You're in the middle of it, the hill, different crowd than Chautauqua, which you can see. It's so close. 2-3 blocks, and you're right here. Whole different history series on CU and University Hill. So if you're liking what you see here, like, subscribe, it really makes all the difference.
Thank you so much for coming on this Radically Colorado adventure with us to Chautauqua. Like and subscribe for more adventures.